Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into tonight's second half, a couple links. As you all know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and the membership are in the description below. Merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. Finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. Doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and folks, they matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? So, I hope I'm not putting myself in danger taking the time to be open about this, and I hope I'm doing the right thing. I'll start off with my own encounter and then proceed to talk about encounters of two other family members. So, 2 or 3 years ago, I first came across the idea of the existence of creatures existing. I've always been interested in the paranormal, but at the same time I didn't want to get involved. I wouldn't shut my mouth about it talking to my friends and whatnot until one day something happened that spooked me. My family has this property a mile or so away from Roanoke River, and it is acquired a long time ago. It covers a lot of land, and it's completely densely wooded. Part of my family has been there since. It's currently split between my sister and her fiancé, and on the other half is occupied by my grandparents. One day I was there because the internet at my house had stopped working, and I had to complete an online coursework because this was during the time of COVID and shutdowns were everywhere. I'm in the house alone, quietly minding my work, and then I hear a scream in the distance. I can't say why, but I froze, my eyes locked, staring out the window. I've lived in the country before, and I know how noisy and weird animals can be. It freaked me out because I've never heard a scream like that before. It sounded distorted and animal-like, yet also like a human being being murdered. In my mind, I knew it had to be an animal. I mean, it's the woods, and animals live there. They'll eventually make weird noises. Now, before I finish, I want to say, I still think there is possibly a more common explanation for what occurred. I don't know what happened for sure, so I'm not going to make any certain statements. 30 seconds after this scream that sounded pretty far, I heard a male hello sound very close to the window I was staring out of. The way my gut churned and the sick feeling I got instantly was like none other. I felt my breath was leaving my body. It was the tone of this hello. It was as if a friend was excited to see me, but I saw no one out there. My mind was just racing and telling me to get out. Likely chance of it being an actual person murdering people or something. I just needed to get out of there and leave, so I did. I called up my family, who were away at the time, and I told them what happened, explaining how either they have someone trespassing, or something really weird is going on. They investigated when they came home, and nothing was found. I decided to then respect that I didn't know what was out there. And there are people who have been around longer than I have, and I should listen. I stopped worrying about it, and I rarely think of it. And I personally have never had another encounter like that. My sister and her fiancé, however, have their own side of this ongoing experience about this property. I'm only repeating what I managed to get out of them. Whenever I tried getting them to recount their experiences, they just stared off into the distance and seemed closed off. It is obvious they truly believe what they saw was something out of the ordinary. Well, her fiancé had family from New York over. They spent a few nights there, and a couple of the family members self-identified as witches. My sister told me they had heard of skinwalkers and such creatures and wanted to try to call them out. Now I'm not sure if that's even possible. I thought it's rather unwise, but not my house, not my problem. A while after the visit, my sister came to my house and she talked to me about something she saw while driving home at night. She described a pale figure, white and faceless, on the side of the road of this property I had my experience at. She really wouldn't go much into detail because she didn't enjoy talking about it. I realized that something serious could be on that land, and I advised her not to worry about it, and that weird, unexplainable things happen all the time. Until also when her fiancé was driving home by that land at night, and he saw it as well. He went into more detail and described it as faceless, white, bright humanoid. It sort of crawled in a skipping fashion and did not stop across the road in front of the car. I opened up about this to someone who runs a museum for all things paranormal in a nearby area, and she advised me to get in contact with somebody who may know of a Native American spiritual leader. The only Native person I know, though, was my late grandfather, so that is a dead end. I personally allowed myself to be at peace, though. I have been ignoring it and refused to dwell on it. And nothing has bothered me, though. I'm going tonight to stay at the house again. What makes it even creepier is that especially when it's cold, we hear coyotes howling all the time out there. And it sort of became a peaceful thing knowing that nature is as it should be. But when the sun goes down and those woods are quiet, I can't help but imagine what could be happening beyond what I can see. I would actually love to go camping one day and spend time outdoors, but something's changed in me that makes me reluctant to leave the walls of a house. Honestly, guys, that's a perfect example of this person kind of closing down. I've said it about 1,000,000 times over that there are two types of people after having a very strange encounter with any type of cryptid or really anything that is unexplainable and possibly dangerous. They either shut down and avoid any possible interaction with anything ever again, or they become completely obsessed and really dwell on, I guess, the negative or whatever these things are. And both can be dangerous. It's just how you do both, I guess, with maybe a healthy medium. Anyway, on to today's first video clip. The first video clip is what appears to be a Bigfoot running through the woods. The first 15 seconds are at actual speed, and then it's slowed down so you can see how it's progressing through the woods. I'm going to share it 2 times, one right after another. That way you guys can really get a great view of this creature. So in the beginning, I said that I would throw my 2 cents in on it. I am leaning about 80% of this being real. When it's slowed down, you can see the size of the bounds it's taking. It's not just a small human. It's really taking some enormous steps and then heading back toward the wood line. So, 80%? What do you guys think? I've been living here at Snow College, Utah for a couple of months. Something strange is definitely happening here. For some context, I'm part Native American Lakota Sioux tribe, and I'm trying to reconnect with that part of my heritage as I've moved out and away from my parents. I've always believed in the existence of cryptids, such as dogmen, Bigfoot, and skinwalkers. But the events that have transpired over the past couple of months have solidified it for me. At first, the occurrences started out small, hearing footsteps, growling in the bushes, etc. But as the weeks have gone on, they have gotten bigger and bigger. It all came to a head one Saturday night when I got a frantic text from a good friend of mine saying that he's really messed up big time and he's scared. Now, this friend of mine is a very imposing guy, 6'2", 280. He grew up around Baltimore, so it takes a lot to scare him. So he's going through and telling me what had happened and what he saw. A couple of blocks away from the main campus, they're building a new temple, and his friend loves to walk around the area at night. According to him, just past one of the streetlights on the road, he could see a massive dog pacing back and forth east to west. He described it as a dog with the posture of a bear, toned build, obviously wild, but no discernible fur on it, like it was completely a silhouette. So, of course, I do some research, and I see some accounts of the Sherman family on their ranch. And Gwen's description of the wolf/dog she ran into sounds eerily similar to what my friend had seen. What my friend neglected to tell me until we were there was that he was whistling that night on his walk. As we were approaching the spot where he had seen this thing, there it was, sitting under a streetlight. It was exactly as he described it, a huge dog, the posture of a bear, pointed ears, and the smoothest skin I've ever seen on a wild animal. We're both rightfully spooked, so we head towards campus. As we are walking past the Humanities building, he tells me that it was around this spot where he was seeing shadow figures. He described them as having distinct human forms, and hearing what sounded like a huge animal running at him. He came across a bald eagle feather in the middle of the sidewalk. There haven't been any bald eagle sightings in Ephraim, from what I know. We hung out on campus for a while after an encounter by the temple grounds, and we are both able to come to the conclusion that there is almost like a line across the campus that the sightings would stop. Against my better judgment, I'm planning on going out there again later tonight to see if we could maybe get any pictures of this creature, just for concrete evidence. So the second video clip is a group of guys doing some urbexing or urban exploration. Not necessarily ghost hunting, just exploring urban buildings or homes, and it necessarily doesn't mean that it's rural either, just because urban is attached to the kind of name. But they look down a hall and they see this very strange and ugly kind of creature coming at them. I think it's a crawler of some sort. Check it out. So my 2 cents on what this thing is, judging from how it moves and its height from the ground, it's moving quadruped-like. I'm going to say that I'm about 95% thinking this is actual footage of a crawler. I wasn't there, but judging from the video clip, it really does look real to me. On to tonight's third experience. The summer before my ninth grade year, my parents and I went to Lake Lure, North Carolina for a 10-day vacation. The day we got there, we went to a grocery store that was kind of in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by mountains. While my mom was buying groceries, my dad and I found a hiking trail on the other side of the parking lot, and we decided to go on it. About a mile in, he gets a call from my mom saying she needs help putting the groceries into the car, so we start to head back. I run a little ways ahead over the hill and out of sight from my dad, coming across a tiny creek off the side of the path. I went down to stick my hands in and watch the minnows while waiting for my dad to catch up. But I soon realized something was off. Everything was dead silent. The birds had stopped chirping, the leaves in the trees stopped rustling, the creek wasn't babbling, even though I could see the water splashing over the stones with my own eyes. I couldn't even hear my own breathing. I pick my head up and scan the area, and I see something only 15 feet away from me. I say something because I thought it was a cream-colored husky, but I realized it was far much bigger than any wolf dog I had ever seen. At the time we had a German Shepherd, and whatever this thing was would have dwarfed her significantly. It was just standing there looking directly at me, not moving or making any noise. I hadn't seen it when I went down to the creek. It's as though it had appeared out of nowhere. I don't know how long we stared at each other for, but for whatever reason, to this day, I cannot remember what color its eyes were, and I looked directly into them for the entire time. An indeterminable amount of time had passed, and then finally I heard something. My dad, still on the other side of the hill, calls out and makes sure I was there. The thing's ears twitch in his direction, and then it just kind of huffed, turning away and taking off, disappearing behind a ridge in 3 leaps. I was stunned. My dad approached me, asking what I was doing, and I told him I think someone's dog is loose out here. He said there was no one else out here, so it might have been a stray. What did it look like? I had described its appearance as best as I could. Cream-colored, pointed ears, dense coat, fluffy tail, much bigger than our dog Maggie. The eyes, of course, I couldn't recall. He said it sounded like it resembled a husky, but it was closer in size to a wolf. The only problem were wolves are rarely solitary, and he was pretty sure there aren't any wolves in the current area. Perplexed, we went to help my mom with the groceries and continued our drive to our little cabin Airbnb we were staying at, having to chalk up the encounter as just weird. A few days later, my parents were going out to dinner. Me, being 14, stayed behind in the cabin and watched anime just to get away from them. It was a shotgun-style cabin, meaning you could come in through the front door, take 10 strides straight forward, and exit through the back. Upon entering, you were in a combined living room kitchenette, with a bedroom I was sleeping in to the left of the front door, and a master bedroom and bathroom to the right. It was a raised cabin with stairs on the side by my bedroom leading up to the front porch that spanned the entire front side of the house, ending on the right side with a railing. It also happened to be literally on the side of a mountain. The driveway was at an incline where you always had to put the emergency brake on when you parked. As they were heading out, I was sitting on the couch that was against the front wall of the house. The front door is to my right, and there is a giant long window behind me that looked out onto the porch. The back door was ahead of me, slightly to the right, just outside of the kitchenette area. If it hadn't been in my line of sight, I wouldn't have realized it was left unlocked. And I noticed that while they were backing down the driveway, so of course, being paranoid 14-year-old really into creepypasta and top 5 ghost videos to make you crap your pants, I immediately got up and locked the door. I then double-checked the other door and all the windows, closing all the curtains. A few hours had passed and not much happened, which was relieving for me since at the time I didn't have a phone, laptop, or tablet. Nothing to communicate with people except for a landline in the cabin. and nothing but the knives in the kitchenette to defend myself with. But it was short-lived. That relief was soon replaced by an unimaginable fear as I heard rapid footsteps directly behind me outside on the porch. They raced past me and stopped at the front door. Whatever, or whoever it was, sounded as if it was on all fours. It was quiet for a few seconds, and then the scratching began. It sounded exactly like when my dog Maggie wanted to be let back inside after we'd let her out to do her business. I found myself wanting to turn around and peek out the front window or even go to the door, thinking maybe it was the neighbor's dog or a cute little raccoon. But for some reason I simply couldn't move. And that was possibly the best decision my body made for me as I looked to my right and saw the handle on the front door slowly moving up and down, as if someone was testing it to see if it was unlocked. When it didn't budge, the handle started moving faster, more aggressive, as if whatever it was trying to rip it from the door. Then it stopped, and the four-legged footsteps scuttled to the far end of the porch and quieted again. I sat there with the TV paused, not breathing, just listening, when maybe a minute had passed, and 10 strides ahead of me, on the back door, scratch, scratch, scratch. I couldn't look away. Only thing, thank the Lord I closed the curtains on the back door, tiny little window. The scratching continued, then stopped, but the handle slowly turned up and down, and again and again. It started furiously jiggling up and down, shaking the door in its threshold. I started to panic, wanting to call my parents or the police, and I remembered I had access to the landline, a landline mounted on the wall right next to the door. I stayed where I was, and eventually the shaking stopped. I sat there waiting, listening, anticipating a third and possibly successful attempt to get in, and it never came. I went back to watching Sword Art Online, gross I know, trying to realize that it was being a really smart dog that lives on the side of the mountain and enjoys breaking into homes, or a really dastardly band of raccoons. That makes sense. By the time my parents got home, I had just about convinced myself that it was crazy, making the whole thing up when my dad pointed out the scuff marks on the low outside front door. Not deep claw mark scratches in the wood, just kind of scuffs that dogs would do with their black nails. Again, exactly like my German Shepherd at the time would leave on our back door. I told them about the scratching on both doors and the doorknobs turning, just downplaying it for egotistical reasons at the time. My dad, of course, shrugged, saying it was probably a stray dog, maybe a coyote. My mom didn't let me stay or go anywhere by myself after that. When I told my partner this experience, they looked up that area we had stayed in and found out that area lies in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is a province of a much larger Appalachian Mountains. That was already creepy to me since Appalachia is one of the oldest mountain ranges on the planet and is known for having weird, unexplained events happen all the time. It only got worse when I told my coworker the story. She thinks I'm lucky to be alive since my experience sounded like hers that she was dealing with living just outside the native res in New Mexico when she was a kid. According to her, skinwalkers were a common occurrence in her small town, especially in the graveyard behind her house. She apparently would experience footsteps, scratching, door handles shaking, and when she was home alone. We looked it up, and apparently North Carolina has a large indigenous population east of the Mississippi River. My coworker thinks it was a skinwalker, and that if I hadn't locked the back door, my parents would have come home to find me dismembered in the living room, or would not have found me at all. My partner thinks the wolf or wolf-like creature that I saw was some sort of spirit trying to warn me about what may happen, maybe imbue me with common sense, and influence me to lock the door. I, personally, have been doing some research, and I came across the Dog Man. I'm not really sure what I think. I know that the Dogman encounters that I have heard and read sound really familiar to what I experienced. Also, I read that somewhere that the skinwalkers only live on reservations out west, not near North Carolina. Any thoughts? Yeah, my thought exactly. Not a skinwalker. Um, Maybe some sort of shapeshifter, Cree shapeshifter or whatever, but I don't think so. I think what you experienced was definitely a dog man. Um, just trying to get in and mess with things. Who knows? But thank God you did lock the door. Anyway. So, the next video clip I'm going to share with you has been shared and seen for a long time. I tried to blow it up as best as I could, and I did some research. That dog that guy is walking is a Spanish pointer. It's a Spanish kind of spaniel or whatever. It's a hunting dog. Um, in the movie or TV show Ozarks, that's what Navarro has. Uh, they're 80 to 100 pounds. Huge dog. This thing is enormous to it. Its head is half the size of this dog. And when it does that lope, you can see how long it is. It's at least 6 to 7 feet long. It's huge. Some people claim that it's a dire wolf. Could be. Could be. Could be a dog man. You know, I had a theory a long time ago, and I don't know if I even think this anymore, but who's to say that the dire wolves of our past that, people had unearthed, and I'm sure early Americans had seen them, like the giant short-faced bear, who's to say that these dire wolf were not dogmen, modern day dogmen? I don't. So I encourage you guys to watch it on your computer, because I had actually blown it up so much to where you can actually see the eye shine. So check it out.
Hey! 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 Hey!
I really don't think this is a wolf or anything natural. I mean, I really honestly believe that it could be a dire wolf or a dog man. 95%, to be honest. You can hear that dog howling in pain because that creature got a hold of it. So, it's definitely crazy. On to tonight's final video clip. This one, I'll tell you what I think about this one after we check it out.
Thing right there, it's creeping me out. I lived here for going on 7 years and walked 100 miles through these woods. Never seen that shape before right there. See, it's got a funny head shape. It wasn't here earlier. Yeah, no, it's not a stump. It's not a broken tree or whatever. I don't know. It looks like it's connected right there, but it's not. I've been over there 1,000 times. It's weird.
Alright folks, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Guys, what's your honest opinion of that last video? I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know what people see. I've heard some people say Bigfoot, Dogman. To me it looks like a silhouette of a cowboy. Just my own opinion, you know? That's why I don't share it. Anyway, guys, thank you for supporting this channel. Your support is what makes this channel so special and what continues to make it grow and go. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there. They are dangerous. If we share a little bit of the information that we share with each other, with those that we love and care about, it may just save someone that we care and love's life someday. Until next time, God bless.